Today we're going to cover Milestone 8 on the Next Dollar Roadmap, which is paying off your remaining debt. Now back at Milestone 3 we covered the importance of paying off toxic debt, which we characterized as just about everything short of low interest debts like mortgages or student loans. Now like I said back at Milestone number 6, Milestones 6, 7, and 8 are kind of interchangeable. If you want to prioritize paying off debt back at Milestone 6, you can. You've kind of reached the place financially where you can adjust things a bit. I keep using the metaphor of having your dessert before your meal if you'd like. If you want to pay off debt before you fund kids' education or you save for other goals that you have financially, like a second home or a travel or things like that, you can do that if you'd like. But back to debt, when we cover debt at Milestone 3, I walked through 4 debt quadrants that I think are helpful in categorizing debt and helping us understand them more. Now the 4 quadrants are secured appreciating. We said that was the healthiest kind of debt. It's the bluish color on the heat map. There's also secured depreciating, which is secured debt on a secured asset, but on an asset that is depreciating in value. That's like a car or something like that. There's also unsecured appreciating assets. That's things that aren't secured, like education or student loans are an example of that, because that actually creates value for you, but it's not something that can be repossessed or sold to pay off a loan. Now both of those types of debt that are kind of in this transition zone of blue to red are debts that you can take on, but you need to be careful with them, because if you're not, they can actually cause some problems for you. When in doubt, I suggest that you avoid them if you can, if at all possible. And finally is the last section of debt or quadrant of debt, which is unsecured depreciating assets. These are debts on items that can't be sold in order to buy your way out of debt. They're just dangerous. You should avoid these if at all possible. This is things like credit cards, consumer debt on items like furniture or electronics and things like that. They're not going to hold their value. They generally come with high interest, and if at all possible, you should just save to pay for these with cash and avoid taking on debt for this altogether. Now I'm going to assume from here on out that you've complied with our standards for toxic debt for Milestone number 3 and that you don't have any of that in your life anymore. Now if you still happen to have any debt in your life, it should be your mortgage, or it should have an interest rate that's somewhat within the ballpark or realm of the rate of return for a 10-year treasury. That's kind of the benchmark I use for a risk-free rate of return. So you don't want to be any more than 2% above whatever that is. So if the 10-year treasury rate is 4% right now, if it's 6% and above, that's kind of a toxic debt. It's getting pretty high in interest. You should probably get it out of your life. Now with that out of the way, let's look at the case for paying off any remaining debt that you have versus continuing to carry the debt. So first off, let's talk about why you might want to continue carrying debt, and it's a really easy case to make because it's completely based in math. If you're at milestone number 8 and you're at a financial place in life where you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved, you're investing 15 to 25% of your income, you're saving for your kids' college education, you've got extra money that you're putting away in either some sort of investment account or something like that, and you still have debt, it's probably because the interest rate was too good to pass up, and you'd rather not pay it off because the money that you save is actually making more money for you than you're saving by paying off the debt. So for example, as I'm recording this right now, the 20-year rate for Treasury is 4.465%. And just a few years ago, it wasn't all that uncommon for people to secure a 30-year mortgage at 3% or even less. Now that difference may not seem like much, but if you invested $1,000 a month for 20 years at 4.465% instead of paying down a mortgage at 3%, you'd come out $44,501 better off thanks to compounding interest. Obviously your risks are low either way, paying off a mortgage or taking on treasuries, which are basically no risk. But if you're the type of person that prefers mathematical efficiency over being debt-free, then this is the case for you. Now let me challenge this idea a bit by providing a mathematical reason to just pay it off. In 2024, the average monthly mortgage payment in the United States was $2,400 a month. That's $28,800 each year focused on paying off a debt. That's also $28,800 that most Americans will need to realize in taxable income, be it from your job or retirement accounts, just to make monthly mortgage payments. Now on your screen now, I've listed what $28,800 costs the average American in taxes based on their marginal tax rate. So 10% tax rate, obviously it's $2,880. At a 32% tax rate, that tax is going to be $9,216. And so on. Now for a second, imagine that you're in a position to control the amount of realized income that you receive each year. Sort of like when you're, I don't know, retired. And depending on your marginal tax rate, not having to withdraw another $28,800 each year would save you some portion of the amounts I've listed in that table, because you wouldn't need to realize that income to pay off your mortgage. So for example, if you're retired and you're in the 24% marginal tax bracket and you're taking out $28,800 a year just to pay off your mortgage, it's costing you an additional $6,912 in taxes. Now granted, this doesn't include any credit for interest deductions if you do itemize your taxes, but it's something to think about. There is a cost for removing that money out of your retirement accounts if you're taking them out of a tax-deferred account and just to pay off your mortgage. There's also an impact from having a higher adjustable gross income. It impacts how much of your Social Security is exposed to tax. It impacts how much you pay in Medicare taxes. So there's other things to consider in addition to just the marginal tax rate. Now the final case I'll make is to do whatever you want. So given the financial flexibility you enjoy at this stage in your financial journey, the fact is paying off low interest debts or deciding to continue to carry them is not going to make a huge difference either way. If you know you have an incredible interest rate on your mortgage but think you'll sleep better at night being debt-free, then you should just pay it off. On the other hand, if you're the type of person that just has to follow the path of the greatest mathematical efficiency, then keep making those minimum payments and just invest the rest. I wouldn't say that you can't totally screw it up at this point, but there's enough margin of error in your life right now that either way isn't probably going to derail you or impact you that much. Ultimately, the choice is yours. Now, in our next and final post of the Next Dollar Roadmap, Milestone 9, we're going to talk about total financial independence. And that's basically going to go into ways to preserve, protect, and even give more efficiently from your abundant wealth. As always, I am grateful for your interest in my videos. God bless and take care.